Dear listeners, there's a certain kind of song that finds you at the exact moment you need it. You are driving or making dinner or sitting in your car after a long day, and suddenly a lyric lands in a place you didn't even know was still tender. You catch yourself. Maybe you cry a little. Maybe you just breathe deeper than you have in weeks. That's not a coincidence. That's music doing what music was always meant to do. So today we are sitting with the person behind songs like that. So, hey, dear listeners, welcome back to another powerful episode of Healthy Mind, Healthy Life. I'm your host, Avik, and this is the podcast where we talk honestly about mental health, not as a concept, but as something we all carry every day. And my guest today is, please welcome Aston Stevens. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm grateful to be
Amazing.
here.
Amazing, Aston. And dear listeners, before we delve deep into the discussion, I'd quickly love to introduce you with Aston. So, Aston is an artist and songwriter whose music speaks to the quiet battles so many of us fight in a private. So, his works sits right at the intersection of vulnerability and strength, and that's exactly where we are going today. And in this conversation, we are talking about the internal battles people rarely name out loud, how an artist holds both softness and resilience in the same breath, and how music can become a real, tangible tool for healing, not just something that plays in the background of our lives. So, why do it? Let's get started. Welcome to the show again, Aston.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So, Aston, like before we go into the heavier stuff, I want to start with something human. For a lot of artists, music is not something that you choose; it's something that chooses you back. So
Exactly.
yeah, so I'm curious, like, what was the first time um music felt like more than sound to you? Like, the first time it felt like it was doing something for you. When, if you can share anything.
Yeah. I say for me the first time was in middle school. It actually started with poetry. And I'll say poetry and music kind of have a
Mm,
very like close relationship in the way that my journey started. In middle
mm,
school, I kind of feel like as a young boy, you're really finding yourself and you're trying to find yourself and find where you fit in the
mm,
grand scheme of society. And where I'm from, there's not a lot of avenues when it comes to outlets. It's
mm,
usually people my age, young black kid, is sports or it's band. And I didn't really find my place in any of those at that time period. And so I started writing and, sharing my poetry amongst peers, sharing my poetry, going to, church on Sundays and, just freestyling. And it was one of those things I noticed first how people gravitated to it. And so it was kind of like, yo, I might actually be good at this. And then from then, I learned how to build a personal connection and actually express myself through it. So I'll say for me, my earliest memories when I felt like music was actually something for me was definitely like
mm,
middle school. I'll say more so like middle school going into high school more so.
mm. Got it. Got it. Yeah. I mean, that's such a beautiful place to begin because I think most of us can point to a moment like that. And um, I mean, even if we are not musicians, a song that saved us, a lyric that held us together on a bad night, music has been doing that work for a long time. So, and
For sure.
also in this, if we talk about the misconception part, um, there's this idea out there that healing music has to be soft, slow, gentle, full of light, almost like it has to be, uh, it has to sound like healing. But
Mhm.
your work seems to know something different. Like, So from there, like I'm curious, what is the biggest misconception people carry about what healing music is actually supposed to feel like?
Yeah. I feel like, especially with me being specifically in rap, one of the biggest misconceptions is rap is nothing but destructive. Like rap only destroys. It's not so much as now with our generation and the generations coming up next because rap is and hip hop is turned into such a big genre. But
Mm.
especially early on, I remember seeing it so destructive. There can never be a healing aspect to it. And I think a lot of that is because of the sound of it at its core. But for me, it kinda shows each emotion. Every emotion is not, just soft and calm. Sometimes you have fiery passion. Sometimes you have, um a very loud sadness that speaks out. Sometimes it's happiness, and sometimes your happiness is very loud. It's very upbeat. And I feel like music in its healing form displays all of those emotions because at the base core of it, us as artists, we're literally just expressing ourselves. And sometimes it's not always just calm. And me, naturally, I'm a calmer person, but my emotions are not always in a calm state. Sometimes it is like, yeah, I'm about to spaz, like, and that's just the outlet
Yeah.
that comes out. And if it was just me feeling that way, then it'd be okay. That'd be one thing. But notice how other people relate to it. Like, yeah, I feel that same way.
Mm.
Shows that it's a deeper aspect to it. So I don't feel like the healing aspect of music always has to be calm. I feel like it's a place for every uh part of music, just like it's a place for every emotion.
Exactly. Exactly. And also, if I say like, do you think people sometimes mistake comfort for healing? Or I mean, because those are not always the same thing.
Mhm. 1000%. I one thing I witnessed a lot growing up, and this is a perfect example, is
Mm.
people using different vices for comfort. And
Mm.
just like you could use a vice like a drug. Growing up, I have family members, and I've had multiple family members that have passed
Mm.
from drug abuse. And it's just something that I seen growing up. And to them, it is a comfort, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's healing them. Obviously, it's doing the opposite. It's killing them. But for whatever they're feeling at the time, it was comforting them. And
Mm.
I definitely feel that that's the same thing. Everything that comforts you is not healing you. And sometimes healing can be very uncomfortable. You think about like when we go through procedures or healing our physical body, it's an uncomfortable process
Mm.
sometimes. And I think music kind of represents that too. Even in creation, sometimes it's not always comfortable to be vulnerable in music, but it is very healing. And sometimes it is very, very uncomfortable even when making songs and speaking on certain things because it is so vulnerable. You're literally letting people into a vulnerable space that don't even know you, and
Mm.
so that right there can be challenging sometimes. One of my favorite artists, J. Cole, he spoke and he has a line where he says,
Mm.
I'm paraphrasing it, but he says, I'm sharing my most vulnerable moments to people that don't even know me. They know me more than I know myself. And sometimes as an artist, it can really feel like that. And some people can have a misconception of you because they only know a part of you, and they think that this is how you, live your whole life. And this is just only a piece of my life. So,
Mm.
it can definitely get uncomfortable, but I feel like growth and healing is uncomfortable. It's a part of the process.
Exactly. Exactly. I mean, that's the piece I want listeners to hear. Like, healing is not always pretty. Sometimes the song that heals you is the one that finally lets you feel what you have been avoiding for years, right? And if you go deeper, like you have said, music speaks to internal battles people face. And I want to stay with that phrase for a moment, like
Mhm.
internal battles, right? So, uh, when you're writing, which ones do you find yourselves returning to almost without meaning to?
Um, Constant ones are doubt for sure doubt. And I
Mm,
think more so doubt
mm,
as what you're internalizing about yourself. As an
mm,
artist, it's not your career is very inconsistent at times. It's not like you're working a 9 to 5 job.
mm,
Like I go here, I work these hours, I get paid this amount. It's not that cut and dry music. It's very up and down. Sometimes you may have very high moments. Sometimes
mm,
you have low moments. Sometimes it's not much going on for you. And so
mm,
that can put a perception on your mind that, man, maybe I'm not supposed to be doing this. Or maybe I was wrong going this direction. Or maybe it's time for me to quit.
mm,
And I definitely feel that that's an eternal struggle that is very consistent. Not only doubting myself, but
mm,
um, doubt from other people about my career that may have been, kind of passed up as childhood, or, telling your dreams to certain people and they're like, nah, this is not real. You gotta put this away. Those are things that definitely stick with you. And I feel myself returning to, but
mm,
also just trauma in general,
mm,
like trauma experience more so growing up versus adult, but even so still they all stem from the same thing, like just household trauma, community things you witness in your community. um those are the things that I often revisit, but they they not only help me to go a little bit deeper in my own mind, but they also I feel like they make the best. I feel like that's my best work, and obviously not even just for myself, but people that listen to me consistently. The
mm,
songs that they tell me are their favorite, they usually come from somewhere along those lines. Of though more of the trauma, but
mm,
it's either it's just the perspectives of it change. I think that's
mm,
more so as I grow, my perspective of it change versus it just being, oh, it's just woe is me. You know what I'm saying? I think in the beginning was more of that, and I
right.
think now my perspective of it is more like, yeah, this was necessary. I'm
Mm,
appreciative of these moments.
exactly. Exactly. Yeah. Ooh. And I mean, uh, there's this idea that vulnerability and strength are opposites, and that to be strong, you have to hide the soft parts. But in your artistry, they seem to coexist. So, how
Mhm.
do you personally hold both in the studio, on stage, in the writing room? I mean, what does that balance actually look like when no one's watching?
Um, I honestly think it's just me being who I am. I don't think you can really pretend to be a strong person. I think eventually that's going to be tested, whether it's by an outside force, someone else, or
Mm,
in general. Life is going to test how strong you are, and it shows in your lowest moments how strong you are. So I think for me, it's more of a natural thing because I've dealt with so many things. I'm not afraid of any challenge, that really comes in front of me. And but at the same time, I don't have anything to hide. So it's more so of just I'm just being who I am because I really don't have anything to hide. I feel like when you are true to yourself, there is really not much people can hold against you. It's just like, okay, what more can you say about me that I haven't said? In a sense. The only thing that really can harm you is something that you're really hiding. But when you go through and you face those dark things within yourself, it's kind of like, okay, I don't really have much to hide. So it's not
mm,
really an issue with me being vulnerable, and the strength comes from my experience. So I think those things coexist because it's just at this point who I am, in a sense.
mm, exactly. I understand. Yeah. And okay. And has there ever been a moment where you felt too exposed in a song you released?
Um, Not necessarily. I haven't necessarily felt too exposed. The only thing I will say is I'm careful about telling stories that are not my own story. Um, so
Mm,
obviously there are other people that exist in my life. I'm very careful as a writer about
mm,
their lives in my story because I chose this for myself. And so I chose
mm,
to put a spotlight on these things, but there are other people that involved, and sometimes I leave other people out because, they didn't choose this. This is not their life that they signed up for. Or I'll, talk have a conversation with them about it and see how comfortable they are with me sharing this thing. Or and there's a lot of things that I left, like there's stories that I told and there's parts that I left out because they involve other people on purpose. So that's the one thing I will say. I'm mindful of other people when, but my story is still my story. If it comes down to like, hey, it is what it is. I need to tell this. But I try my best to be mindful, especially of the people, my family, especially my family.
Exactly. Exactly. And um, let's get practical. Because I have listeners right now who are not musicians, but who use music every single day to get through. So I want to ask you directly that how can someone who is not an artist use music as a real tool for their own healing and personal growth? I mean, uh, not uh, uh, just as a mood setter, but as something deeper.
So before I ever wrote a song, I was definitely a listener first, and
Mhm.
for me, I think it was certain. I found what appealed to where I was at that time in life.
Hmm.
I think it depends on a lot of what you listen to and who you're listening to. And I'm not saying that you have to know the artist in and out, but it does help when it's somebody that's relatable to you, your story. It may not even be where you're from, but it's something about that person that appeals to you. That definitely helps. And finding that artist, and then finding the songs that speak to you, and really I know when a song speaks to me, especially when it's not my own, because I can't get it out my head.
Mm.
And a lot of times I feel like it's a message that's being relayed, and it's something that I need to get from that. And so I'll go back and I'll actually like literally study the song. And that helps me get through a lot because I'm listening to this person. And a lot of times it's not even an answer to what I'm going through, but it's just this person is dealing with the same thing. And I'm paying attention to their perspective. And so I'm seeing how they viewing. And I'm like, whoa, that helps me. If it's nothing more than just simply somebody else feels what you feel, sometimes that helps a lot. Just knowing that you're not out here alone. Somebody else feels this. Somebody else is dealing with this. Somebody else is battling this. I think that alone just helps. Find an artist that you feel appeal to you. There's artists that I had that appealed to me at one point in time that don't appeal to me no more, and that's okay. It was a season that music helped me get through. Um, and
Mm.
I think it just depends on the listener. Your choice. But I feel like no matter what genre, um, we are all humans. And
Mm.
so if you're dealing with it somewhere out there, you may have to search a little bit. Somebody is making music about this somewhere out there for sure.
Yeah, very true. Very, very true. And okay, okay. So I would like to ask that making vulnerable work is one thing, and sustaining it, uh, keeping yourself healthy, protected, and still creating from a real place year after year is something else entirely, I'd say. I mean, uh, so how do you keep yourself grounded when your art requires you to keep opening up? Like, how do you protect yourself without shutting down the very thing makes your music yours?
That's a great question. For one, I constantly work on my craft in general. And so I feel like for one thing, you have to be very
Mm.
practiced in what you do. No matter how vulnerable you have to be practiced enough to even be able to tell your story in a way that people can understand it. And so that's one thing I'm always working on perfecting my craft. And it comes in different forms. It's not just always me writing songs. I journal every day, meditate, pray every day.
Mm.
Um, take time to myself. Sometimes I step away from everything, from music, and just take time to myself. And that time usually helps me realize how I actually feel. Cause sometimes, and I don't know if it's just a man thing, you can go through life just on autopilot and you're not really processing
Mm,
your feelings. Things are just happening and you just, you're going through it, you're handling things day by day by day by day. I know for me, especially with children, it's one thing that I notice I'll do because you're so used to just acting and, or reacting and,
mm,
taking that time and kind of like processing, okay, this is what happened. This is how it made me feel. Sometimes my wife even asks me like, "How do you feel?" And I have to even ask myself that, like, "Man, how do I feel?"
yeah,
I really don't know how I feel right now. And just simply
exactly.
taking some time and answering that question definitely helps, So it's a lot of factors. I think just staying practice in my craft, staying
Mm,
disciplined in my own life, physically, mentally, and spiritually, taking care of all three of those. And just staying aware. I think that's another thing
mm,
too that keeps it pure. And just being aware of what's going on around me, being aware of what's going on in me, in my life, and just being able to properly communicate it.
exactly. Exactly. So amazing. I mean, it's really, really amazing. And what do you do on the hard days, like the ones where the well feel empty or the world feels too loud or songs are not coming?
Yeah. A wise person once said, when you have like writer's block,
Mm,
it's because you haven't lived your next song. And so
mhm,
I honestly just go and live. Like I go and take a walk. I go and play the video game.
yeah,
Catch up on some Netflix. If it's something that needs to be handled, like just in
mhm,
regular life tasks, go do what you need to do. Go clean up. It's just simple. I just live. Sometimes I take a drive. No destination. I'm just gonna hop in the car and just drive. And I may not even listen to anything. Maybe totally
mm,
silent. Whatever helps you silence everything. I think that's the answer to it. And it's not always just the same answer. It's just me personally, I just live.
yeah, yeah. That's amazing. That's amazing. And Aston, like before we move, I'll just ask you, like, if someone wants to connect with you, how they can connect?
Yeah, so the easiest way to connect to me is my
Mm,
website, and it's my first and last name.com, ashtonstevens.com. All of my platforms, recent releases, you can find them on my
mm,
website. But if you're on any social platforms, it's consistent. It's Ashton Stevens. That's ITSASHTONSTEVENS across all platforms. And if you're looking to stream, it's simply Ashton Stevens.
amazing. So, dear listeners, what I'll do is I'll put all the links and the details into the show notes for your easy reference. And with this hope, dear listeners, I would love to share that if something here landed for you, my invitation is very simple. Like, put on a single song tonight, not as a background noise, but as a companion. Listen like it has something to tell you. And if one person comes to mind who needs to hear this episode today, send it to them. And this is it. So, with this hope, this is your host Avik, and this is Healthy Mind, Healthy Life. Take care of your mind, take care of each other, and I'll see you in the next one. Thank you so much.